Well, it's Wednesday, and you all know what that means. Well, in WWE Evolve, of course, we have the return of Mr. Stone, of course, basically just popping up, and of course, brought a little surprises for the Evolve fan base from NXT. And this is one you don't want to miss, but also we will see the celebration of Nikkita Lyons, as you know, as our new Evolve Women's Champion. So we'll see how that celebration goes because most times things don't go according to plan. And then, of course, we move on with AEW Dynamite Beach Break. This one features, of course, the AEW International Championship on the line to Takeshita versus Fletcher. We even have the match between, of course, Ciampa and Jericho. And we got the Casino Gauntlet match. And then, of course, we cannot forget the main event. This is all for nothing. Kenny Omega will have an opportunity to face in MJF for the AEW World title. But however, the wrinkle is if he does not win, he will not get another opportunity of this championship. He will fall in the same path as Hangman Adam Page and of course Cody Rhodes. And then finally, we will wrap up our episode as usual with some news updates, give you guys updates on what's been happening in the world of wrestling, such as what events the promotions are throwing out, who's booked, what matches are set, including developments that are happening in the world of wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready with another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to the Deleted Wrestle Zone. All things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK. In the world, pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information was unable to be on this episode, we can either put it on the next one or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do some real-time news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us. To click on that subscribe button, you'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, enough of the jibber jabbers. Let's get started. So, let's begin with WWE Evolve. Okay, WWE Evolve. We opened up with Sloane Jacobs, as you all know, is very excited with the fact that Nikkita Lyons has now become the Evolve Women's Champion. So she started out, of course, being on the phone, talking to whoever to set up, of course, the celebration for Nikkita Lyons. So we'll see how things go over there. Like I said earlier, well, normally celebrations turn into chaos, but that's something we probably will see. But we'll see about that. Now we did see, of course, the return of Mr. Stone. As you all know, he was part of the commentary group when the Evolve started, of course, being broadcast. However, this time he came back only because he is lending a couple of NXT talents that he and, of course, the foreman, Mr. Thatcher, of course, have agreed on. Now we did see, of course, the MOG Squad making their way. I'm sure many of you probably wondering that they're out to brag about the win they had last week on that. But however, the foreman decided to give these guys a lesson because apparently CJ Valor ended up in a match against none other than Cutler James, the one person you don't want to mess with because, of course, he's Dark State. Now, MOG Squad can pretend it's all fun and games, but when it comes to Dark State, oh boy, everybody needs to shut up and pay attention and grab your nuts off because you know for a fact Dark State don't play games. And that's exactly what CJ Valor should have known from the very beginning. This is not a guy you think you can play games with because he is dangerous. But however, CJ Valor learned his lesson when, of course, Cutler James put him in the dark matter, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, adios. However, when the MOG Squad was in fact leaving, well, Timothy Thatcher was not done with them yet. Apparently, he put Santi Rivera and Jacobari Ball in a match against two guys, and of course, amongst them, those guys are in fact Noam Dar and Romero Moreno. And I thought it was a pretty good match because, in a way, we know that Dar and Moreno are trying to find their footing as a tag team because that's exactly the key point. They need to start racking up wins, and that's exactly what they tried to do. And I think this was going to be a perfect opportunity. Now, when you thought the MOG Squad had everything under control, because they always do have ways to ensure this match goes in their favor, but however, the relentless and the resilience of both Dar and Moreno refusing to lose picked up the win for them, thanks to, of course, the arrogance of the MOG Squad, because apparently Moreno was put in a German suplex, but his foot caught on the rope. When the referee was like ready to do the 3, the MOG Squad thought, it's over, we won. And like, no, he had his foot on the ground. Like, what? And of course, Moreno wiped out the entire MOG Squad, but put, of course, what's his name? Santi, Ball, of course, in the ring. And that's how they took him out, with a double team by both Dar and Moreno. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, Dar and Moreno picked up the win. And I'm sure. But however, Thatcher was not done yet, so he told him next week, Max Abram will deal with Chaz Starboy Hall, and that's the last thing he needs at the moment. Now, we did see a bit of backstage face-to-face confrontation between Harlem Lewis and, of course, our current Evolve Men's Champion, Aaron Rourke. Now, they go back and forth about their past and all this, and that's pretty much it. But, of course, one had to explain the other that there's a lot about them that they don't know. So that's something I'm sure they will consider once we see them next week. Now, our next match, we have Oka Zazaki. Now, for those who are not familiarized with them, if you guys are stuck in the WWE bubble, Oka Zazaki is a former UFC fighter from Japan. He has been wrestling for nearly 2 years, of course, with Pro Wrestling Noah. So he's basically on loan. And, of course, it was a pretty good match. But, however, Harley Riggins was the one that picked up the win when he applied a knee strike. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. But, however, we did see in the post-match comments, what's her name? Adriana Rizzo was doing the interview and told Harley Riggins that he still wants a piece of Tate Wild. As you probably can guess, there's still some unfinished business between them. So, we'll see what happens. I'm sure Mr. Stone will grant him that wish, but we'll see. Now, of course, Elijah Holyfield, as you probably can guess, he is not satisfied with how things were up between, of course, him and Brooks Jensen. So he asked Noam Dar if he can teach him some ways to counter the move and what he did wrong. But of course, Noam Dar was gladly to teach him, so he was showing him exactly what went wrong. What did he do to make a mistake in order to fall? And of course, he understand that. But beknownst to both of them, Brooks Jensen was watching this. He was seeing exactly what Noam Dar was teaching him. So basically, I'm not sure if that's going to be enough if they get into another face-to-face confrontation between those two. But of course, Noam Dar told him, please kick his ass. So that sets it up right there too. Now, the event ended, of course, with Nikkita Lyons celebrating her victory, becoming the new Evolve Women's Champion, of course, and all that. But later we did see the arrival of other people. Layla Diggs, of course, and it turned into a brawl, like I have predicted, of course. And then, of course, we had the other ladies, Anya Rue and whoever else was showing up. And just like that, apparently things went chaotic. And then we saw, of course, Laney Luck, who, as you all know, felt that she was cheated out in her championship match against Wendy Chu when Wendy was still a champion, and she put her through the table. So this means there's still some unfinished business with Lady Luck, as for what happened last time. So if I was Nikkita Lyons, I would definitely try to pay attention to that more, because you're going to have sharks all over the water, and that's something you don't want. So we'll see. But as of right now, we are done with Evolve. Let's move on, of course, with AEW Dynamite Beach Break. Alright, AEW Dynamite Beach Break. So this one opened up with an interview with Renee Paquette to Kenny Omega. Now, of course, the Kenny Omega knows what's at stake. He knows that he has the opportunity to win the AEW World title. But however, if he loses, basically he'll never get another opportunity ever. But he knows that this is do or die. So basically he knows what he's getting himself into. But he also mentioned that the Bucks are not there by his corner. The only person right now is Michael Nakazawa, who he's known more longer than the Bucks. For those who may not know, before Kenny ended up in New Japan, he was in DDT, where he met Michael Nakazawa along with, of course, Kota Ibushi. So just putting that out there. So we'll see how that is, because that's our main event. Now, our opening match is Tommaso Ciampa versus Jericho, of course. Now, as you all know, Ciampa began to attack Jericho like about a month ago, and they were going back and forth on this. And Ciampa wants to prove that he is far more better than Jericho. Now, Jericho, of course, he's not an idiot. He knew exactly what Tommaso Ciampa was intending to do, but these guys went all out by using all sorts of plunder on each other. I mean, I'm sure there was tables and ladders and all this other stuff. But we thought that maybe Jericho would have won this match, but somehow he was able to distract the referee by using a bucket that he had in there. But however, Ciampa had a chunk of sand in his pocket, and he tossed it into the eyes of Jericho, and then he applied that crazy knee strike, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. However, Ciampa may have won the match, but he wanted to punish and dismantle Jericho even further by going into the ring, fronting by getting a screwdriver. But thank God for security that got there in time in order to, of course, to put him away. So let's just say I'm not sure if this is over between both Jericho and Ciampa, so we'll see about that. Now, the Brawling Birds, well, being who they are, they like to fight. They end up in a bar beating up everybody, and they're like, I didn't expect this was gonna happen. I mean, that's who they are. They love to fight, so that kind of thing. That kind of reminds me a bit of like the Fit Finley, where if you heard his themes, like, I love to fight. That's always one of those catchphrases. Now, we did see, of course, Renee Paquette do another interview with Will Ospreay. Now, Will Ospreay, of course, he does have a guaranteed shot of the AEW World title at, of course, Wembley Stadium for All In. But the one thing that he is gonna be rooting is saying he'd rather have Kenny Omega win it so he can face him in All In, and of course, because he knows that MJF is a dick. But however, MJF is like not having it, because he feels that people need to shut the hell up and stop talking about this thing with him and Kenny, that it's going to be a better match. But he's trying to prove that he's better. And then, of course, he even spit at the face of Will Ospreay and later turned into a brawl. So we'll see how that plays out too. Now, our next match, we had the AEW International Championship. Kyle Fletcher, along with that idiot Don Falgett, of course. He takes on Konosuke Takeshita. Now, of course, when Takeshita was no longer with the Don Callis family, he's been aiming for the international title. But now that idiot Don is determined, of course, to bring that title back where it rightfully belongs. And that's exactly. But thank God there was no interference from the outside. But Takeshita is not an idiot. He knows how Don Callis operates, because Don Callis is a big baby with big diapers. That's what he is. He cries like, say, "It's 3, you must be blind, ref." Well, he's an idiot because he wants the world to go his direction instead of let it go with the flow. But however, Fletcher was able to defeat Takeshita by applying the sheer brainbuster, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, brand new AEW International Champion. However, during the post-match, we did see Mick Foley. He gives a lot of props to, of course, Kyle Fletcher, but he does not like Don Callis. That kind of sets it up right there. But he did meant what he meant about him. But however, of course, members of the Don Callis family, well, some people had some things to say, more specifically Kevin Knight about Darby Allin. And then, of course, there was the guy, how'd you know? So, as you know, he still has his spare issues towards the Don Callis family. And then they start chasing him in the back. Of course, we did see Jake Doyle, Kevin Knight and Brian Cage looking for him. However, they stumble upon Darby Allin with a backpack and skateboard, so it became a 3-on-1 scenario. And then, of course, Brian Cage was about to grab the backpack, but Kevin Knight, no, don't grab it. That could be a booby trap. Grab the skateboard. So, of course, Brian Cage was about to whack Darby Allin with the skateboard in his head until, boom, right in his face, it exploded. Just like that. No one anticipated it. And then, of course, Jake told, it was you. And then Andrade's like, how'd you know? So basically, that was classic. It was one of those moments that you don't want to miss out. I think that's the thing, the Don Callis family. It's because, of course, Darby Allin told him that he wants the TNT Championship, and Callis says no. So this is one of the drastic measures. Don, you can say no all you want, idiot, but don't underestimate Darby. People have underestimated him for years, and that's the last thing you need. Don't say just because you have brute force, it's going to stop him. Nope. He's devious and dangerous how you wouldn't expect. Now, our next match, we have Will Ospreay teaming up with Jon Moxley to take on the Workhorsemen, consisting of JD Drake and Anthony Henry. Of course, we all know the Workhorsemen have a unique style, and I think this sets up for, of course, for Will Ospreay and Jon Moxley. But however, this match ended with Ospreay and Moxley winning the match thanks to Ospreay taking out, of course, JD Drake, but it was Jon Moxley that picked up the win by pinfall. And now, of course, Will Ospreay can concentrate to see what's going to happen in the main event. Now, our next match is the Casino Gauntlet match. Now, for those who don't know, this match will guarantee a number one contender to face Tekla for the AEW Women's World title at Redemption, not All In, okay? That title, that has already been decided by Mercedes Moné. But however, Mercedes Moné and, of course, Tekla were right there watching this because they want to have front row seat. Now, it started out with Athena and Maya World. Obviously, as you all know, Athena was Maya World's mentor, and of course, Athena probably is still bitter with the fact that she did not win to go advance the AEW Women's World title. And we had wrestlers like Mina Shirakawa, Sky Blue, and Willow Nightingale, and who else? Will Nightingale came back, of course. Trying to remember who else. Chris Statlander, a few others. Harley Cameron, I believe, is one of them. Not sure. But yes, and Rena showed up too, of course, I forgot. But however, this match ended with, of course, with a Dr. Bomb by Willow Nightingale onto Julia, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. But of course, Mercedes Moné hasn't forgotten Willow Nightingale when they first met. If you guys remember, Mercedes blamed Willow for her injury, and not to mention hasn't forgotten losing the TBS title to her. That kind of sets it up. But however, Tekla is trying to prove that she is the baddest bitch on the planet. But however, Mercedes Moné proves that she is the baddest because later she employed the services of the Divine Dominion, Megan Bayne, and Lena Cross to wipe out the Triangle Madness, more specifically Julia and Sky. So we don't know what's the extent of that, but it's very interesting. Now, we did hear later from Jack Perry that his ultimate goal is to win the AEW World title. And later it was foretold he has re-signed with the company. So it seems like there were a lot of negotiations to go on. I'm sure there'll be details to come around about the deal. So we'll just have to wait and see. So maybe put that on the news updates once that comes out. Now, we did see another interview with Renee Paquette, which is our last one, talking to Speedball Mike Bailey. Now, of course, Mike Bailey, as you know, still has his fair issues with the Don Callis family. So he called them out about this, and he challenges for the AEW National Championship. So the real question is when it's going to happen. So we will have to wait and see. Now, our main event is the AEW World Championship, Kenny Omega versus MJF. Now, remember, if Kenny Omega loses, he can never challenge for this championship ever again, and that's the last thing he needs. But he's confident enough to believe I'm not going to fall in the same category into Hangman and Cody, which is the last thing he needs. And of course, this is what MJF wants. He wants to thin out the people who he thinks are unworthy. And that plays out pretty well. However, the MJF thought he had this match won left to right when he put whatever he had in his arsenal and nothing worked. So he tried to use the diamond ring, but it backfired on him because Will Ospreay stopped them from using it. And then, of course, Kenny Omega would try to go back to his old ways by using the belt on him, but he refused to do it until, of course, MJF low blowed Kenny, and then he thought he had this match won, and he kicked out just like that. But however, it took multiple. It took multiple ways to take out MJF. Amongst them is the V trigger, and then later the one winged angel, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, brand new AEW World Champion. So that means Kenny will face Will Ospreay at All in London. So this is going to be an epic battle, of course. So we'll see how things go from there. But I'm sure there's going to be someone to challenge for the belt in Redemption. That is still unclear from there, but we'll just wait. So I think right now we are done with everything with our reviews. Let's wrap up our episode with some news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news updates. So let's begin, as always, with upcoming events, starting with GCW. Now, as you know, this coming Sunday we have Melee in Manchester, which is their debut show in Manchester, New Hampshire, of course. They just announced CPA will take on Mullet Man. I know CPA, but I don't know. I heard that name, Mullet Man, before. And then, of course, the 19th of July for the Tulsa in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which is another debut show, of course. Joey Janela will take on Wrangler Rhett. Don't know who that is. And then, of course, this was announced. Avery Styles, many of you may know who he is. He is the son of the phenomenal AJ Styles. It was announced that he will be making his GCW debut, of course, this month. Late this month, early August. He's signed to go on to Top Play, which is in Omaha, Nebraska, on the 31st of July, and then the following day he'll be making his way to Minneapolis for Rude Awakening on August 1st. So it's great to hear that the son of AJ Styles is also going to be there. So if anybody is a big fan of his dad and you want to check out his kid, go check him out, guys. Now, House of Glory revealed that they're returning back to Chicago in September, of course, on the 25th for Windy City Warfare. So this is going to be a lot of fun. No names have been mentioned yet, but I'm sure names will be mentioned very, very soon. And then finally, of course, as you know, German promotion has the Pro Wrestling Grand Prix that goes on between September 25th through the 27th. They just announced Sendai Girls, of course, Manami will be participating. However, they did mention that Manami will be involved in the all-women show by WXW. So I'm looking forward to hopefully to see that one, of course. Now, that's pretty much it for upcoming events. Let's move on, of course, with some developments. Rich Swann, it was reported that he has re-signed with TNA, so we will see him even longer there now. Now, Gail Kim, as many of you guys know, they just released The Dark Side of the Moon regarding about TNA with Jeff Jarrett and all that. Apparently, Gail Kim's reacted to the being snubbed in The Dark Side of the Moon in TNA episode. Now, I don't know exactly what's going on with that. I know that Gail Kim has no ill will problems with TNA due to the fact that they were changing its direction once they removed Scott D'Amore, but don't know exactly what extent it was, what she was going on. I'm sure there's people that are angry and all that, but we'll see. Now, Hijo del Vikingo, Fightful reports that he had a very successful knee surgery, so he's doing very well, so have a speedy recovery. Hijo del Vikingo. Now, Lola Vice, many of you guys know this, that as you probably know, she's been going back and forth between NXT and AAA. But she gave her thoughts about both companies. I mean, how different are they from each other? Now, people can say, are they the same? No. The atmosphere in both companies is what makes them different and unique. This is what she had to say. All right, pull it up. She said this. Yeah, it was completely different, but I was able to learn so much, and like Toxicas are very good and challenging a lot. But every time I go there, I learn something new, and I'm able to bring that to NXT, and somehow this crazy chaos works. So she's learning a lot of things. I mean, it's never too late to learn at a certain age, of course. Paul Wight thanks Tony Khan because apparently he has a new deal with AEW that he just recently signed, and this is what he said. Thank Tony Khan because Tony Khan still sees something in me, so I'm grateful for that. It helps when your boss likes you, kind of helps. He's one of those bosses that understands that you've been through and your vision. He's like, yeah, we're going to make this happen. I want to see this happen too. You're like, yeah, that's good, because this is tough business. But I'm very grateful. I'm very happy, and that's why I'm here to kick butt. So yeah, a lot of people can say how different bosses they can be, how good they are. I mean, look at Rush. If you guys don't know this, Rush actually took some time off with AEW because his wife was pregnant, was giving birth to their second child, a daughter, and Tony Khan decided to call him and asking him, "How's your family? How's your daughter?" He didn't talk about work. He just wanted to see how is he doing now, knowing that he's a father again, you know. And I think Rush was very thankful that he didn't call him about work. He just wanted to see how is he doing as a father again, you know. And that's something that I'm sure many people can talk about. People can talk what a great person Tony Khan is as a boss. Now, many of you have been seeing what's going on in Stardom between the Hate members, Momo Watanabe and Saya Kamitani. Now, Momo had her opinions towards Kamitani about certain things, and this is what she said. She had the belt, the World of Stardom Championship, taken away at Yokohama Arena in April, and the opponent she lost to was Sayaka Kurara, who was able to defend it once. So what I'm saying is, aren't you just the one who's weak? Aren't you just the one who's weak? She didn't lose her heart after the defeat in Yokohama. I really thought she mentally had grown a lot stronger compared to when she was in Queen's Quest. But in the end, it's just whether she's truly gotten weaker is something I won't know until we actually fight. This is the one match I absolutely can't lose. I'm sure don't want her to be the kind of person who just loses to me easily. So she's questioning her mentality, basically. That's what I think. Because you probably ask yourself, where was your head the entire time? I think that's what she's trying to say. Now, this was reported by Amtha Wrestling, saying through Wrestle Purist. The Jacques Roger revealed that AEW will be honoring his family at Redemption, and this is what they said. QT Marshall called me up and asked if me and Raymond and I would like to go to Bell Century, and he says that they would like to honor my family, the 4 generations. So they're going to have something, I don't know what they're going to have, something on a video, and and then after that they're going to introduce me and Raymond to our Montreal fans. I have a few sleepless nights lately because I'm so excited. I'm so happy, and I wish my Uncle Johnny and Dad would, who died, and my great uncle to see this moment. Just excited. I'm just so excited and so proud. So yeah, I can get that. I mean, I think these guys are one of them is related to the Mountie. I'm not sure, but we'll see. MJF talked about Darby Allin as the AEW World Champion on the Justin Barrasso, and this is what he said. He definitely is a weird guy, but a lot of our fans are weird people, so they can relate. They watch the dude wrestle some of the best in the world every single week, and much as it pains me to say, Darby's little title reign going down as one of the greatest of all time. It it was so unique that people talk about the fighting champion man. You can take that away. You can't take that away from him. But now what was that stupid? Uh, did he burn and candle on both ends? And by the time he wrestled me, he was half dead. Yeah, it was dumb as shit, but I'll give the kid credit. He has no brains, but he has a heart. So he gave him credit for that. That's good. Now I did not witness this, of course, guys. At the latest Stardom event, apparently Natsupoi has. I have to say, I don't know if she learned it from her husband, of course. Many of you know her husband, uh, Shingo Takagi. And there's a move that he does, and many wrestlers have done it, and amongst them is Penta, of course, called Made in Japan. Natsupoi decided to unveil her move, and she did that recently um, onto Rane Agami, and she calls it Made in Japoi. If you guys probably go, is Poi, it was actually what they use on her name, Natsupoi. I thought it was very interesting to see that, but yes. So, so I can't wait to see how that move. And I'm sure Shingo Takagi, being a happy husband, is proud of his wife, the missus, for pulling off a pretty impressive move, even though for someone of her size. But yeah. So anyway, moving on. Johnny Robbie was recently in the Informa, which is a show that happens in CML, like they talk to wrestlers and all that. She talked about, of course, I've been traveling the world, perfecting my craft, craft, prove that I want to be in the best, whether it's in CML or in AEW, or those are of uh, goals and dreams. So basically, yeah, we know she's been traveling world. She wrestled in Japan and all that stuff. Now, speaking of CMLL, well, as you all know, they have the upcoming Grand Prix taking place. 6 names have been added to that, of course. And this is who they have: Roderick Strong, of course, Leon Cage, Yujiro Takahashi, Máscara Dorada, Hechicero, and Ultimo Guerrero. Now, I'm sure there's going to be more names, so I can't wait to see how that goes. So I think that's pretty much it right now for everything. So let's call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, of course, we have TNA and Ring of Honor. So we're going to see how things will go. As probably in TNA, a lot of things are going to take place, so I can't wait. Now, I am a bit behind on the Stardom shows, in case anybody asks. I know there's some shows that happened recently during the 4th of July weekend. Of course, the 8th, which was featuring the last time we see Xena, who, as you know, finished her time with Stardom, which is going to be interesting, and plenty other things. So I'm looking forward to many things from those events. I am behind on Choco Pro 2, and of course Bakagaijin and a few others. So let's see how things will go from there. So the priority is TNA and Ring of Honor. So until then, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So goodbye, and have a nice day. Bang.